is, do I take the time to educate this person? You're the first African American that I've met. And so in that part of the world, so where do we go from there? Do I then whip out my 23andMe DNA data and say, well, I was watching Stephanie Perry's video, Emotionally Prepare for Your Move Abroad, Get Your Mind Right. And it reminded me of the time that I went to Australia and I walked into a shop and the shop owner said, oh, you must be cold. And I said, no, I'm from New York. So, we have winters there. And he said, yeah, but where are you really from? So that's why I'm doing this video, which is how to emotionally prepare for your travel abroad. Because when you travel abroad, you are going to experience some ignorant comments. You are going to meet people who have never met an African or an African American or someone from this part of the world. If you go far enough, if you go to Australia, New Zealand, if you go to certain parts of Asia, you're going to see people who have never met an African American, and they are going to have some questions. But first, this is Tiffany Travels. I help women travel, build wealth, and live richer. Channel, you'll find travel vlogs from my travels around the world, as well as expat chats with people who have moved abroad and advice on how to achieve financial independence. So getting back to the shop owner, I wanted to know, like, my first thought was, does he understand American history? Because American history is taught in America, but maybe, in other places they don't learn American history to the extent that we learn it if you're going to school there. So I was trying to give him some grace. I was trying to give him some leeway. I was trying to understand. I was like, maybe they don't understand American history. Maybe they don't understand that there was the African diaspora, that there was slavery, that there were people who were brought to the Americas from Africa in the 1600s. And so when you meet someone like that and you're saying, yeah, but where are you really from? They may not have a follow-up answer. They may not, that it might just be America. Okay. And then what I wanted to know is, do they ask this question to Caucasian Americans, to Americans who look European descent? Do they get, when Sally or Karen walks into the shop and they say, oh, where are you from? And Sally says, I'm American. Do they get, yeah, but where are you really from? Are you from England? Is it France, Germany? Where are you really from? Do they get that question? I've never, ever heard that. I've never heard that. I've never heard a Caucasian American being asked, where are you really from? So this shop owner looked to be of Middle Eastern descent. He had an Australian accent, so maybe he was born there, but he didn't look Aborigine, I'll tell you that. He did not look Aborigine, so I wasn't thinking that he was native to Australia. So for those who don't know, Australia was colonized by the English, and the people who are native to that land, they're called Aborigine, and they have a certain phenotype. They have a certain look. So it's very easy to distinguish them from the people who are descendants of the European settlers. They don't look anything alike. Different complexion, different features, different everything. So this person who was talking to me, he clearly didn't look Aborigine, and he also didn't look to be of European descent either. And he still considered himself Australian. So I asked him, where are you from? Are you from the Middle East? And he goes, no, I'm Australian. And I said, we don't even see the irony. You don't see the irony in that you and your descendants, you can be Australian, but I can't be American. You don't see the irony, the double standards, you don't see it. So this is what I'm thinking in my head. And then the other thing that I'm thinking is, do I take the time to educate this person? Do I take the time and how do I even respond to this question? Because he asked me a question. He said, "Where are you from?" He assumed that I was from somewhere hot because it was cold in Australia. He said, "Oh, you must be cold." I'm like, "No, I'm from New York. I'm used to the cold." No, but where are you really from? So where do we go from there? Do I then whip out my 23andMe DNA data and say, well, you know, originally there's some Nigerian and there's a little bit of Indian, Chinese, a little bit of Irish because those were the settlers that went to Jamaica, and then in the 1980s they went to America. Do we sit down and have a full on ancestral conversation? Where do you go from there if somebody is challenging what you say? So now when people ask me the question, I respond with, I was born in New York. My parents were born in Jamaica. I feel like that covers all of their questions. Whatever you're trying to figure out, that is my response. Two sentences. I was born in New York and my parents were born in Jamaica. That seems to answer everything. But what about the people who they were born in New York and then their family is from Georgia, and then the family before that was from North Carolina, and the family before that was from Mississippi, and the family before that, their great 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 grandmother, oh, she's from Louisiana. Okay, then what do you respond there? What do you respond there? They're from America. That's where they're from. That's where they are from. And it's just crazy to me that when Europeans go somewhere like America, like South Africa, like Australia, like Canada, even, that they never get this follow up question. They never get this follow up question of where are you from really? So, a South African, a Caucasian South African says, I'm South African. They don't get, yeah, but where are you really from? Germany, France, where are you really from? They don't get that. Canadian, somebody says, I'm Canadian. I've never heard anybody say, yeah, but where are you really from? Where are you from? France? Probably France, right? Because isn't that why they speak French? Because it's French Canadians, they came over. So is it France? Is that where you're really from? Why is it that people of color go to these same places and could have been there for decades or centuries, and we get the question, where are you really from? So this is something that you are going to have to mentally prepare for, and you probably should have some prepared responses, some responses for the follow-up questions. You could get aggressive and say, you know, America, and that's it. There is no where are you really from? Or you can have an enlightened discussion and say, well, this is where this is the history of America. And so even though I have dark skin, my family, my history, we've been there for centuries. This is something you're going to have to think about, and I want you to let me know, put it in the comments, because i I seriously have gotten this question so many times that I've also seen other influencers, other Instagram people posting about it in real time. Like they're shooting a video and somebody's coming up to them like, oh, where are you from? And then on the other hand, so to finish that statement, so let me know what you're going to say so I can add it to my toolbox. And on the other hand, I might be guilty of this too, because whenever I hear someone speaking Spanish, I'm always thinking, oh, where are you from? Because chances are I've been there. And so I want to connect. I'm like, oh, where are you from? And if it's somewhere I haven't been, then I want to know like more about it. Tell me more about it. And sometimes people get upset. People, people I hear people speaking Spanish. I say, hey, where are you from? And sometimes they get upset. Like I'm American. Okay, wasn't trying to offend you, was just trying to learn a little bit. And so maybe I need to remember that same thing, that these people who are asking me these questions are trying to learn more about me. What do you think? or YouTube thinks you should watch this video right here, but I think you should watch this one.